All right, so get this. Today we're going deep into the science of like real personal transformation.
Ooh, that's exciting.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And our source material this time is this book, The Science of Transformation, Inner Change and Human Potential.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah. Have you read it?
I have, yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to pick your brain about this.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, and it's not your typical self-help book. I mean, it gets into some seriously heavy science.
Yeah, it does.
Quantum physics, neuroscience.
Right, like it's really trying to explain the mechanics of how we change.
Yeah, the how-to manual for rewiring our brains and bodies, so to speak.
Exactly, it's not just about positive thinking.
Yeah, okay. No magic wands here. Got it.
No.
But then where do you even begin? Transforming yourself. I mean, that sounds like a pretty huge project.
Well, the first thing this book really emphasizes is confronting fears and doubts head on.
Okay, that's interesting. Most self-help advice is about, positive thinking, not dwelling on the negative stuff. So why is facing your fears so important for like actual change?
I think it's about seeing those fears as signals.
Signals.
Yeah, like signposts pointing toward areas where we need to grow,
Okay.
We often avoid situations that trigger past traumas or things we're insecure about,
Yeah, definitely guilty of that.
even if they're holding us back.
Right.
So the idea is instead of letting fear paralyze us, we see it as like a challenge almost.
An invitation to push beyond our comfort zone.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so let's say someone's terrified of public speaking.
Okay.
That fear could be rooted in like some past experience, right?
Sure, yeah, maybe they were ridiculed or they felt embarrassed.
Yeah, but then by avoiding speaking in public, they're just reinforcing that fear
Totally, yeah.
and they limit their potential.
Right.
But if they choose to face it, that's when they can start to break down those old patterns.
And you write the narrative, yeah.
Okay, so that makes sense. But like, how does that actually work? What's the science behind, facing your fears and actually changing?
Well, our brains are actually amazingly adaptable. We call it neuroplasticity. By exposing ourselves over and over to the things that scare us, we can actually rewire our neural pathways.
Really?
Yeah, and create new, more empowering associations.
Wow. So it's like we're retraining our brains to respond differently
Exactly.
to those triggers.
Yeah.
Wow. So it's like the more we do it, the easier it gets, right?
Right, think of it like building a muscle.
Okay.
First time you lift weights, it's hard. But with consistent effort, over time, it becomes easier.
Right.
Same thing with facing our fears.
Wow. Okay. So we're seeing how facing our fears can lead to some serious transformation.
Yeah.
But the science of transformation, it also talks about letting go of the past.
Oh, absolutely.
And not just like mentally, but physically retiring the past?
Yes.
That seems pretty intense. What's that all about?
This is where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
The source delves into the field of somatic experiencing,
Somatic.
which recognizes that past traumas and just all that emotional baggage can get trapped in our bodies.
Wait, trapped in our bodies. I'm not
Yeah.
sure I'm following that. How can emotions get physically stuck?
Well, think about it. Have you ever noticed how you might hunch your shoulders when you're feeling stressed?
Oh, yeah, all the time.
Or like clench your jaw when you're angry?
Uh-huh.
That's like an example of how our bodies hold on to that emotional energy.
Right.
And that physical posture, it can become like a habit.
I have it.
Yeah, a way of holding on to stress even when you're not really consciously aware of it anymore.
Wow.
And over time, that can lead to chronic tension, pain, even illness.
So it's like our bodies remember those past experiences.
Exactly.
Even if our minds have moved on.
It's called muscle memory.
Well, hustle memory.
Yeah. And those sensations, even the subtle ones, can keep us stuck in old patterns of thinking and feeling,
Really?
even if we're trying to change.
So then how do we actually retire the past, like physically?
Well, the book suggests practices like mindful movement,
Mindful movements.
breath work,
Yes.
yeah, somatic therapy, even to help release those trapped emotions.
So we can create more space for positive change.
Exactly.
Okay, so this is about more than just changing our minds.
Yes.
It's about changing our physical state.
Totally.
And what's even more fascinating is that releasing this baggage can actually lead to like measurable changes in our biology, right? So
Right.
we see changes in brain activity, better immune function, even changes in gene expression.
It's amazing.
Hold on, changes in gene expression. Are you saying that by letting go of like past traumas, we can actually influence our DNA?
Well, it's not about changing the actual sequence of our DNA, but rather how those genes are expressed.
Okay.
Certain genes, they can be switched on or off.
Yeah.
Depending on our environment and lifestyle, our emotional state plays a huge role in that.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So we've talked about facing our fears,
Yeah.
letting go of the past. What's the next step in this transformation journey? What does the source say about actually creating our future?
Okay, well, now this is where the book goes beyond just the individual and connects personal transformation to a much larger reality.
Okay.
It suggests we're not just isolated beings,
Yeah.
but part of a vast web of energy.
A vast web of energy.
And our thoughts, emotions, even our intentions can actually influence that web.
Okay, now you're really piquing my curiosity here.
Yeah.
How can our internal world possibly affect, something as huge as the universe?
Well, the source draws on some principles of quantum physics to try to explain this.
Quantum physics.
Yeah, it's a bit complex, but essentially it suggests that our internal states, so our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, create a kind of energetic frequency that interacts with the field of energy around us.
Okay.
So it's like we're emitting a signal.
We're emitting a signal.
And that signal shapes the reality we experience.
Okay, I think I'm starting to get it.
Yeah, and the more coherent our internal state is, the stronger that signal becomes.
Coherent, you mean like the more aligned our thoughts, emotions, and actions are.
Exactly.
Right.
Think of it like tuning into a radio station.
Okay.
When you're dialed in just right, that signal's clear and strong.
Right.
But when you're off frequency, it's weak, distorted.
Okay, that's a great analogy. I get it.
So the question becomes, how do we tune in to the right frequency?
Yeah, how do we create that internal coherence that actually allows us to shape our reality?
The book goes into some really fascinating stuff about that.
Yeah.
But I think we should save that for the next part of our deep dive.
Okay, good idea.
Because we've got a lot more to unpack, and I don't want to overload you with too much information at once.
Yeah, let's let all of this sink in.
Def.
We've covered some pretty mind-blowing concepts already.
Absolutely.
And I'm eager to hear more about how we can actually apply these principles to create the lives that we want.
Yeah, it's really powerful stuff.
It is. Okay, so we'll be back after a short break to explore all that good stuff, how to actually put this into practice and create real change in our lives.
Sounds good.
Welcome back. Okay, I've had a minute to digest all that.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in.
It is, and I'm ready to dive back into this idea that we can shape our reality. It sounds, I don't know, almost too good to be true.
I get the skepticism. It's a big concept.
It is.
To wrap our heads around. But the source material really makes a compelling case.
Yeah.
Weaving together scientific research, ancient wisdom, even quantum physics.
So you mentioned before this idea of internal coherence being key.
Right.
What exactly does that mean, and how do we get there?
So internal coherence, it's about creating this state of harmony within ourselves.
Okay.
It's about aligning our thoughts, emotions, actions, so they're all kind of moving in the same direction. And when we're internally coherent, we radiate a different kind of energy. It's like we become this powerful magnet attracting experiences that are in alignment with what we want.
Okay, I can see how that would be beneficial.
Yeah.
But how do we get there? What are some practical things we can do to cultivate that internal coherence?
Well, the book suggests this multifaceted approach, combining mindfulness, emotional regulation, and intentional focus.
Okay, let's break that down.
Sure.
What does mindfulness look like in this context?
So mindfulness, it's about paying attention to the present moment without judgment.
Okay.
It's about becoming aware of our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations without getting swept away by them.
Right.
It's like training a muscle, the muscle of awareness.
Okay.
The more we practice, the better we get at just observing our internal landscape without getting lost in the drama of it all.
So it's about creating some space between us and our thoughts and emotions.
Exactly.
So we can choose how to respond instead of just reacting automatically.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. So how does emotional regulation fit into this?
Right.
I mean, isn't it healthy to express our emotions?
Absolutely, yeah.
Emotional regulation, it's not about suppressing or denying our emotions.
Okay.
It's about learning to recognize them and manage them in healthy ways.
Okay.
Think of it like surfing.
Different.
Yeah, when a big wave comes, a skilled surfer, they don't try to fight it or run away from it. They learn to ride that wave using their skill and their awareness to navigate it safely.
So we're not trying to avoid our emotions,
Nope.
but learning to, like, ride them,
Exactly. Yeah.
use them as a source of information.
Information and energy.
You'll see energy, okay.
And that takes practice.
Yeah.
The book suggests tools like journaling, breath work, even talking to a therapist.
To develop those skills.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got mindfulness, emotional regulation.
Right.
Now, what about intentional focus? What role does that play in shaping our reality? So intentional focus, it's about directing our energy towards what we want to create.
Okay.
It's about setting clear intentions, visualizing our desired outcomes,
Right.
and then taking aligned action.
So being clear about what we want, visualizing it,
Yeah,
and then taking action to make it happen.
that's it.
That sounds, simple enough in theory.
Right.
But I think a lot of people struggle with that taking action part.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It's easy to get stuck in the planning and dreaming phase.
Totally.
But action is essential.
To actually manifest those desires.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got the 3 key ingredients.
Yes.
Mindfulness, emotional regulation, intentional focus. But what about those times when, life throws a curveball?
Right.
Things don't go according to plan.
Yeah.
Does that mean we're doing something wrong?
Not at all. No, life is full of unexpected twists and turns.
Yeah.
But the source emphasizes that our internal coherence,
Okay.
our ability to, like, stay grounded and centered amidst those challenges, that determines how we navigate them and what we learn from them.
So it's not about avoiding challenges altogether,
Nope.
but developing the resilience to bounce back.
Exactly. Think of a tree that bends with the wind.
Okay.
It doesn't break because it's flexible and adaptable.
Right.
Same principle applies to us.
Yeah.
The more resilient we are, the better equipped we are to handle those inevitable storms.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
The beautiful reminder that resilience isn't about being, rigid
Right.
or unbreakable.
It's about being flexible
Yeah.
and adaptable.
So how do we cultivate that resilience? Is it something we're born with, or can we develop it?
Resilience is like a muscle that we can strengthen through practice.
Okay.
And the book offers some practical tips.
For building resilience.
Yes.
Yeah.
One key strategy is to reframe challenges as opportunities for growth.
Okay, that's a great suggestion. But how do we actually shift our perspective in the middle of a tough situation?
Yeah.
It's easier said than done, right?
It takes conscious effort.
Yeah.
But instead of asking, why me?
Right.
Try asking, what can I learn from this?
Okay.
Or how can I use this experience to become stronger? It's about focusing on what we can control.
Right. Our attitude, our actions,
Yeah, exactly.
our
Yeah.
response, instead of things outside of our control.
Yeah, so it's about taking ownership of our experience,
Right.
even when it's challenging, and finding the lessons, the opportunities within it.
That's powerful.
And another key to resilience is practicing self-compassion.
Self-compassion.
Yeah, when we make mistakes, when we face setbacks, it's easy to beat ourselves up.
Oh, yeah. I'm definitely guilty of that.
Right, but self-criticism, it just adds to our stress.
Makes it harder to bounce back.
Exactly.
So instead of being our own worst critic,
Right.
we should be treating ourselves with kindness and understanding.
Yeah, like we would a good friend.
Exactly. Yeah.
Self-compassion, it's about recognizing that we're all human.
Right.
We all make mistakes, and that's okay.
It's about offering ourselves grace and forgiveness.
Exactly.
Okay, this is starting to feel less like a self-improvement project
Yeah.
and more like a journey of self-discovery and acceptance.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really at the heart of what this source material is getting at. It's not about becoming someone we're not, but about uncovering our true potential
Right.
and embracing all parts of ourselves.
That's really inspiring, and it makes me think about all those limiting beliefs we carry around.
Yeah.
The stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we're capable of. How do we start to let go of those old stories?
Right.
And create new ones that are more aligned with our potential?
That's a great question, and I think it's a perfect lead-in to the next part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Where we'll explore some practical tools and techniques for actually rewiring our brains
Yeah.
and creating lasting change.
I'm excited for that.
But before we move on, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Okay.
Think about a time when you faced a significant challenge in your life. How did you respond?
Yeah.
What did you learn from that experience? And how did it shape who you are today?
That's a powerful question.
Yeah.
And I think reflecting on those past experiences can offer some valuable insights into, our own resilience
Absolutely.
and our capacity for growth. So we'll be back after a short break to explore how we can apply these principles
Yes.
to create the lives we desire. Welcome back to the deep dive. I'm feeling all inspired after that last segment, ready to actually apply these ideas to my own life.
Yeah, me too.
So where do we start? Like, how do we take all this amazing theory and turn it into something real?
Well, it's about integrating these concepts into our everyday lives. It's not about making some huge overnight transformation,
Right.
but rather it's these consistent small shifts, practices that we build on, one after another.
So building new habits,
Exactly.
new ways of thinking and being that support our growth and transformation.
Yeah, the source material really emphasizes these daily rituals.
Rituals, okay.
Yeah, things that cultivate self-awareness, emotional regulation, and even just like a connection to something bigger than ourselves.
Okay, I like where this is going. Can you give me some examples of those daily rituals? What kind of things are we talking about?
Well, let's start with meditation.
Yeah.
Even just 5 or 10 minutes a day
Ah.
can make a huge difference.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I've heard so much about meditation, but honestly, I've always struggled to stick with it.
Right.
Any advice for beginners?
Start small. Like even a few minutes is better than nothing.
Yeah.
And don't worry if your mind wanders.
Yeah, that's always my problem.
That's totally normal.
Okay.
Just gently bring your attention back
Okay, I can try that.
to your breath or your chosen point of focus.
Okay, what about other practices that can help us, regulate our emotions? You mentioned breath work earlier.
Breath work, it's incredibly powerful.
Okay.
It's a direct link to our nervous system. And by consciously changing our breathing patterns,
Yeah.
we can actually shift our emotional state.
Really?
Yeah, there are specific techniques
Right.
like box breathing, alternate nostril breathing that can really help to calm anxiety or
Absolutely.
boost your energy.
This reminds me of, when I'm feeling super overwhelmed
Yeah.
and someone tells me to just take a deep breath,
Right.
it always seems so simplistic.
Yeah,
But now I'm starting to get that there's actual science behind it.
there really is.
Wow.
And you can do it anywhere, anytime.
Right, it's like a portable tool
Exactly.
for emotional regulation.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got meditation, breath work for self-awareness, emotional regulation. What about connecting to something larger than ourselves? What does that actually look like in practice?
Well, that could be spending time in nature,
Okay.
practicing gratitude,
Right.
connecting with your community, engaging in acts of service.
Okay.
It's about shifting our focus outward,
Yeah.
recognizing that we're part of something bigger than just our individual selves.
I get that. When I think about the times when I felt most, connected
Yeah.
and alive, it's often when I'm out in nature or doing something to help others.
Exactly. It's about tapping into that sense of purpose
Yeah.
and meaning that extends beyond just our own ego.
Right. And when we do that,
Yeah.
we align ourselves with a greater flow of energy.
Yeah, energy and possibility.
Possibility, I like that. Okay, so we've got some daily practices to help us cultivate self-awareness, regulate our emotions, connect to something bigger. But what about those limiting beliefs we talked about before?
Right.
Those stories we tell ourselves that hold us back.
Yeah, the stories that keep us playing small.
Exactly. How do we start to rewrite those stories?
Well, first you have to become aware of those beliefs. What are the stories you're telling yourself about who you are, what you're capable of?
Right.
Where did those stories even come from? Are
Yeah.
they based in truth or just like old fears and insecurities?
It's like we have to become detectives of our own minds,
Exactly.
uncovering those hidden beliefs
Uh-huh.
that are shaping our reality.
That's it.
And once we've identified those beliefs,
Yeah.
we can start to challenge them, right?
Absolutely.
Ask ourselves, is this belief actually serving me? Is it based on facts or just, old fears?
Right. What evidence do you have to support that belief?
I can see how asking those questions can help to bring those beliefs to the surface
Yeah.
and start to dismantle them.
Exactly.
But what do we do once we've started to break down those old beliefs? How do we create new ones that are more supportive?
Well, this is where affirmations come in.
Okay, affirmation.
Affirmations are these positive statements that we repeat to ourselves to reprogram our subconscious minds.
So it's about consciously choosing new thoughts and beliefs
Exactly.
that support the reality that we want.
Yeah.
And repetition's key here.
Repetition is huge.
And the more we repeat them,
Yeah.
the more we start to believe them.
And they start to shape our thought, our feelings, our actions.
Wow. Okay. And visualization is a powerful tool
Yeah.
to use along with affirmations, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Let's talk about that because I've heard a lot about visualization,
Sure.
but I'm not really sure how to do it effectively.
So visualization, it's about creating this really clear, vivid mental picture of what you want.
Okay.
The key is to engage all your senses.
All our senses.
Yeah, make the visualization as real as possible.
Wow.
See yourself achieving your goals, feel those emotions that come with that success, hear the sounds around you, even smell the scents.
So it's not just about seeing it in our minds, but feeling it in our bodies.
Yeah, as if it's already happening.
Wow, that's powerful.
The more we can embody those emotions of our desired reality, the more we align ourselves with it. It's like sending this clear signal to the universe saying, this is what I want.
This is all incredibly empowering, but what about those times when, we inevitably face setbacks or challenges?
Right.
How do we stay on track with our transformation when life throws us a curveball?
That's where resilience comes in.
Resilience.
And remember, it's like a muscle.
Right, we can strengthen it.
Exactly. It's about learning to bounce back from adversity, to adapt to changing circumstances, and to keep moving forward even when things get tough.
You mentioned before that reframing challenges as opportunities for growth is key to resilience.
Absolutely.
How do we actually do that when we're in the middle of a difficult situation?
It's about shifting our perspective.
Right.
Instead of focusing on what's wrong,
Yeah.
we can ask, what can I learn from this? How can I use this experience to become stronger?
Okay.
What new opportunities might this open up for me?
It's about finding that silver lining, even in the darkest clouds.
Exactly.
And you also mentioned self-compassion,
Right.
being kind to ourselves.
Especially when we make mistakes, face setbacks, it's easy to be so hard on ourselves.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
Right. But self-criticism, it just makes it harder to bounce back.
So treat ourselves with kindness and understanding, even when we, mess up.
Exactly. We all make mistakes. It's part of being human.
Right.
And the more we can accept that,
Yeah.
the more resilient we become.
This has been an incredible deep dive.
It has.
We've covered so much, from the actual science of transformation
Yeah.
to practical tips for creating real change.
It's been a fascinating exploration.
It really has.
And I hope our listeners feel empowered to start their own transformation journey.
Me too. And remember, transformation, it's a process.
It is.
It's not like a one-time thing.
a journey, not a destination.
Exactly. So be patient with yourselves, celebrate your progress, and just never stop exploring.
Exploring the incredible potential that you have within.
That's a great reminder. So to wrap things up,
Yeah.
remember, you have the power to create the life that you want.
Absolutely.
It all starts with a single step. So go out there and start creating the reality of your dreams.